guys, my name is Courtney Budzyn and this is What's for Din. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make chicken fettuccine Alfredo. This is by no means the original way to make it, but this is just the way I've come to know to make it, the way that I like to. And sometimes I like to add a little bit of cream cheese, but I'm not going to today, so if you do have a little bit of that on hand, go ahead and add that in there as well. The ingredients you need are very simple and few. You're going to need some fettuccine pasta, you're going to need some heavy cream, Italian seasoning, butter, fresh minced garlic, some chicken breasts that I pounded slightly thin, not super thin, but thin enough so that they'll cook evenly, and then some high quality Parmesan Reggiano, some salt and pepper. Now I can't stress enough how important it is, especially in this kind of dish, to get high quality ingredients. For instance, the Parmesan cheese, if you get something like a Kraft cheese, no hate to Kraft, but if you get something like that, this dish isn't going to taste as good. And the pasta I'm using is straight from Italy, and there's a lot of people who may not be able to find that. But if you can get a higher quality pasta and higher quality cheese, get that, because it's going to make all the difference in your dish. So let's go over to the stove and we'll get cooking. I have my pan here with a little bit of butter in it, getting nice and melted so that we can cook our chicken in that. So while that's melting down, I'm just going to go ahead and season both sides of my chicken breast. Make sure you do this quite liberally, because otherwise your chicken will be quite plain. So I'm just using salt, pepper, and a little bit of Italian seasoning on both sides. So my chicken's nice and seasoned, and then I have a big pot of boiling water ready, and I'm just going to season that with a little bit of salt, or a lot of it. I'm going to throw my pasta in right now so that that's completely done by the time we're ready to put it into the creamy Alfredo sauce. So give that a good mix, and then we're going to let that boil while we move on to the next step. So I have my butter nice and melted in here, and I'm going to throw my chicken in. And I'm not using a non-stick pan only because of the fact that I'm going to be deglazing the pan with more butter anyway, so I'm not worried about it. So you want to brown these on both sides, cook them all the way through, get some good color on them, and the more color you get on them, then the better flavor your Alfredo sauce is going to have. So my chicken is perfectly done. You can see it has some really good color on it. I'm just going to take that out and put it aside. I also made sure that it was thoroughly cooked all the way through by taking its temperature. So now to my pan, I'm just going to leave all these drippings because that is good flavor. So if you're concerned about the color, then just get a new pan, and this is where you're going to start making your Alfredo sauce. So I'm going to stick my butter in here, and it's going to slightly deglaze the pan. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. It will when the cream is put in there. So I'm going to put my butter in and get that all the way melted. And I'm going to add my garlic. And I forgot to mention in the ingredients list that you need a little bit of nutmeg, and that just helps bring out the flavor. So add in your garlic, and you're going to just saute that for a couple of minutes. Okay, that's been sauteing for a couple of minutes. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my heavy cream. And I'm going to just scrape the bottom of my pan, because that's what's going to help deglaze the pan, and all those good flavors are going to come off. But you can see, if I pull this back, you can see it deglazed my pan perfectly, and it got all those delicious burnt flavors at the bottom of the pan off. I love that. So I'm going to bring that up to a simmer. Now that my sauce is simmering down now, y'all. Simmer down now. I'm going to add my freshly grated Parmesan cheese and mix that in. And that's going to absorb all our liquid, and it's going to get really nice and creamy. And just let that cook for another couple of minutes. And now that it's simmering, this is where you can check and see if it needs any salt or pepper. And I'm going to add a little bit of pepper, but I'm not going to add any more salt because Parmesan is really salty already, so I don't want it to be overly salty. So I'm just going to let this simmer for a little while and let it reduce so that it thickens. So I'd say just let it reduce a little bit. I'll show you what it looks like when it's there. But while I'm waiting for that, I've strained my pasta, and I like to cut my chicken up into pieces. Now, a lot of people don't like to do that. I like to cut it up, but that's your preference. I've let it rest so all the juices have settled, and I just cut it up in chunks, and I'm going against the grain, but whatever, it is what it is. You can see that it's thickened very nicely, and it doesn't have to be super thick because you want it to be able to coat all of your noodles, but that's about where I like it. I'm going to add in my pasta now. And my chicken. And you just give this a nice toss. Fettuccine Alfredo is completed. You can see I put a little bit of fresh chopped basil on top. You can put some parsley on top if you want to, but like I said in a previous video, I have so much basil I have to use up, so that's why I use that instead. Oh yeah. Now I don't want to get anyone complaining saying, oh, it's so fattening. This is a fattening dish, so if you're on a diet, I don't think you should eat this at all. There's really no way to cut this. You pretty much just can't have fettuccine Alfredo if you're on a diet. But if you are ready to splurge, this is something that is just really decadent, really creamy and cheesy and yummy and delicious, and I could go on and on and on about it. But if you want to recreate this recipe, just look in the description box below. I'll list all the measurements as well as the written instructions. And if you do recreate it, please tag me in your photos on Instagram because I'd love to see it. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.